Thanks for tuning in to my video blog this week. I really hope and pray that you are having a wonderful week. So, I want to speak to the people this week who are feeling very discouraged. You're feeling as if things are just not getting better, as if some of the circumstances that you're facing in life just seem to get worse, and you're feeling like maybe you're at your last straw. You feel as if you just don't have any more strength to deal with your current situation. I want to offer you some hope and encouragement this week through my video blog. So we're going to be reading from the book of Second Corinthians, chapter 4, and we're going to be reading verses 8 through 10. And so here again we have a verse of scripture from the Apostle Paul, the one we've been talking about for the past few weeks, who has experienced suffering. He's experienced many trials and tribulations in life, but yet he somehow is able to continue to encourage these people. And so what we're going to be reading today, and how I'm hoping it will encourage you, Paul is again going back to that key concept and understanding and realizing that our strength comes from God. And so Paul was really saying that as humans, we're very fragile, we're very weak. And so sometimes when we go through experiences in life, we wonder how it is that we get through those experiences. But a lot of the times we fail to realize that that strength comes from God. So that's essentially what's happening before we get into the text for today. So what we're going to read right now is essentially what Paul is talking about after that, understanding and realization that our power and our strength comes from God. And so it says in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 8, it says, "We are pressed on every side by troubles, but we are not crushed. We are perplexed, but not driven to despair. We are hunted down, but never abandoned by God. We get knocked down, but we are not destroyed. Through suffering, our bodies continue to share in the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be seen in our bodies." So here, what we have in the scripture today, Paul is essentially giving these paradoxes. He's giving these things, these contrasts that really don't make sense. So he's saying that we're pressed on every side by troubles, but yet we're not crushed. We are perplexed, but we're not driven to despair. We're not driven to the point where we completely have lost hope and given up on everything. We're hunted down, but we're never abandoned by God. And the last thing he says, we get knocked down, but we are not destroyed. So really, Paul came to this realization that, when we have these trials, when we go through these sufferings in life, sometimes we feel as if these things are killing us, they're destroying us, and they're really just ruining us. But in all reality, when we realize that our strength is coming from God, these things really don't destroy us, even though they may be very, very, very difficult. They're not destroying us because we still have that strength that's coming from God. And so that's one of the first things that I wanted to encourage you all on this week. You may be feeling as if you're at the end, that you're pressed on side by every troubles. Things just don't seem to be getting better. But what we have to realize is that we're not crushed. We're not completely defeated, because we still have breath in our bodies, and God has given us the strength to see another day. And then in the last verse, verse 10, Paul says, "Through suffering, our bodies continue to share in the death of Jesus." So essentially what Paul was saying is that when we face these hard things in life, when we face those challenges that we go through, this is God's way of sending us through that process of becoming like Christ. And so something that I wanted to share with you all that may help you understand this. When Michael Jordan was out, and arguably one of the best basketball players, the phrase went around that I want to be like Mike. A lot of people wanted to be like Michael Jordan, and they wanted to play at the same caliber of Michael Jordan. But what a lot of people fail to realize is that Michael Jordan put in a lot of hard work. He put in a lot of dedication, and he, practiced jump shots, hundreds and hundreds of jump shots every day to become that best basketball player. And so he had to go through a lot of challenges to get to where he was. Now, if we translate that same idea over to our Christian life, we, are supposed to strive to be like Christ. Just like people say, I want to be like Mike, we're striving to be like Christ. Now, if we look at the life of Christ, we know that he suffered a lot. he was rejected, he was persecuted, and that ultimately led him to the cross. And so, if we are trying to become like Christ, we have to understand that we're going to face challenges in life. We're going to face those difficulties. We're going to face those times when it feels like the entire world is against us. But we have to rest on that promise and hope that it's just all of the part of the process of us becoming a reflection of Christ. Now, when we go through these things, this allows us to be able to minister to people. It allows us to be able to share that love with others because we can say, you know what, I've been through a similar situation. I've been to the point where I felt like giving up. But you know what? God gave me that strength, and that's how I'm able to minister and help you become strengthened and overcome your trials and tribulations. And so that's what I want to share with you all today. Don't give up. You feel like you're at the end, but it should give us some hope that what, we're becoming like Christ, so we're gonna have to face these things in life. And so I was thinking of something that I could use to share with you all to help you really understand this concept. And so I was thinking about a slinky. I had a conversation with my sister around the Christmas holiday, and I believe one of the kids had got a slinky for Christmas. And as I just began to hold the slinky and stretch and pull it apart, God really began to speak to me. He said that, sometimes that's how we feel in life. Sometimes we see ourselves just like this slinky when it's not pulled apart, and we think that that's all we can handle. But sometimes life circumstances will begin to pull us. They'll begin to stretch us beyond what we even think we can really handle. Now, if I was to pull this slinky all the way out, the video and camera wouldn't even be able to capture how far I could pull this slinky out. And that's kind of how we are. We really don't think that we have the strength to be pulled and to be stretched in all these different ways. But when we realize that our strength comes from God, our lives can feel like this. Like, you know what, God, I don't feel like I can be pulled anymore. But God will give you the strength right here at that moment in your life when you're feeling completely stretched. God will give you the strength to endure that. He will give you the strength to go through it. So I'm encouraging you all on this week, and this has encouraged me. I've been facing, those feelings of discouragement this week, of feeling down, and really just like I'm just at my last, bit of strength. But that gave me some hope and peace on this week that, you know what, I'm not forsaken. God has not left me. He's with me. And even if I feel stretched beyond my capacity, God has given me the strength to endure. So I hope you take this into consideration on this week, and I hope and pray that you all have a blessed week.